Woohoo! We're back for informational interviews. Today is April 6th, 2020, week 4 of quarantine. And we are here to interview Nadia Rodela. Thank you so much for joining us, Nadia. I'm going to just give you a
Yeah,
quick overview of what's happening today, and then we'll dive into your interview. So the overview is going to take no more than 5 minutes. Then we'll jump into your interview. After about 25 minutes, we'll open up the floor and the students can ask you their questions. Um, Sometimes we get personal questions, sometimes we get professional questions.
okay.
Um, so that'll be fun to see. Then about 4:55, we'll wrap up and do a quick reflection and end the call at 5.
Sounds
So
good.
awesome. So that being said, just want to appreciate the businesses who previously supported Passion Impact. There's a long list of them here, and I'll try and read them really fast, just so you know. Fuck him, Mojo Crops, Minimins, Got Fuels, New Seasons, Market Kingpins, Sizzle Pie, Famous Pizza, New Thai Blues, Dick's Primal Burger, Dave's Killer Bread, Garen's Central Bakery, Josh Bob's, Henry Higgins, Fred Meyer, Bambuza, Atlas Pizza, Porque No, Spielman's Coffee and Bagel, Mercado, oh man, Portland Mercado, Rudy's Pizza, Rib City Grill, Safeway, Pizzicato, Siri Thai, and Tacos Tacos. All right, we've got so many great places here. If you can support them still and they're still open, maybe call for a Grubhub. Um, so thank you on that part to all of those groups. Moving on, just some meeting expectations. We show gratitude and respect for all of those in the video chat. So that means no typing anything that's going to make someone feel bad or inappropriate, basically. You're muted right now, and the facilitator or the bouncer can unmute you when you raise your hand and during appropriate time. So, of course, we're going to have time for you to raise your hand. So real quick, I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to raise your hand in Zoom. We practiced this before. Kayla, I bet you're going to be first this time rather than last, like last time. Go ahead and raise your hand, please. Just let me know that you got them. All right, all right. We got 3. Adriana doesn't like to ask questions. Nadia, have you found it yet?
No.
Okay. No worries. You're not going to have to raise your hand. But
Okay.
great. Now go ahead and put your hands down. 2 more points here. No nudity, vulgar or demeaning language, or inappropriate sharing of your screen will be tolerated. We do reserve the right to remove anybody from our programs, and that is Adriana, the bouncer's job. She will kick you out of here, so don't test her. With that being said, have fun and stay engaged. So, without further ado, this is Nadia Rodela, born and raised in the PDX area, Portland State University, PSU grad, bachelor's degree in international studies, and a minor in Spanish. Now it seems like it's going to be a major part of your life.
Yeah.
Previous work includes gymnastics coach and elementary group leader, the International School of Portland, living and working abroad in Madrid, Spain. This is crazy. So there's obviously a lot more that we could talk about, but I think it's probably best that we just pass over the mic to you for a quick introduction on your
Okay.
end. Can you give us your name, your pronouns, anything else that we should know about you, Nadia?
Yes. Hi. My name's Nadia. I use
Yep.
she, her pronouns. And yeah, I was born and raised in the Portland metro area. I I went to the schools in Beaverton School District. So I went to Westview High School. I don't know if some of you know that school. And then in my junior year, I was accepted into an early college high school program. So then I transferred to Portland Community College for my last 2 years of high school. So I was a dual enrolled student. So I was working towards my high school diploma as well as my associates, or my first 2 years of college while I was in high school. And then after that, I transferred to Portland State. And then 2 years at Portland State, I graduated. And then shortly after that, I moved to Spain. So here I am.
Wow, that is crazy. So we're going to kind of go through a little bit of that
Okay.
timeline, and our bouncer Adriana might jump in here or there to ask a question. I know that she knows you a lot better, so I might be told to shut up at some point, which I
Okay.
reserve the right to accept. So
Okay.
let's start off with Westview High School. I've met a couple students from Westview, and they usually have requirements for volunteerism. I'm curious if that was part of your educational requirement to graduate high school.
Um, I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. I was in Key Club for the first 2 years I was at in high school. I did sports, uh, but I don't, there might have been, but I transferred mid Westview High School, so I don't know the exact requirements for volunteering. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It may have changed a while ago. I don't know if any of our students remember that Portland Public Schools used to have a requirement of volunteerism to graduate. That no longer exists. So,
Right. Okay.
let's go back to your high school career.
Okay.
It was a career, it was a 4-year stint, but you basically got 6 years of education out of your 4-year stint. How hard working of a student would you say that you were?
I was pretty hardworking. I've always loved school. I Yeah, I worked really hard. I'm also the oldest in my family, so I had a lot of pressure on me to do well in school. I'm a first generation student, so I had a lot of pressure, and so that really just motivated me to do the best I could, and I did pretty well, I think. So, yeah.
When you say you had a lot of pressure as the first of your siblings, I was the first of mine. I felt some pressure as well, probably not at the same standpoint, but I'm curious what that means to you. Many of our students are in that same situation, so maybe there's a link there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of siblings. I have 5 siblings, and so I think just being the oldest and I don't know, it's my personality I wanted to be an example. My dad really, and both my parents really pressured me, not pressured, but motivated me to do the best I could in school, and they tried their best to make sure that school was my focus, and um, yeah, so I just tried really hard to be an example.
All right, so looking back on it, I mean, were they in the right? Do you feel like you resent them at all, or where are
No,
you at with that?
no, I don't resent them, and no, it's just not really my personality. I appreciate everything that my parents did for me, so yeah, don't no
Fantastic.
resent.
Cool. So you got your associate's degree in high school when you graduated high school. You walked across the stage, you got your high school diploma and your associate's degree basically back to back.
Pretty much. I mean, I had the 2-year credits, but since I was on the track for a bachelor's degree, I didn't really walk across with the associates. If I just transferred all, I was able to graduate with so many credits, 2 years of credits.
That is crazy. There's only one school that I know of in Portland that does that, in the east
Mhm.
side at least, which is Jefferson High School.
Okay.
They have that dual enrollment with Portland, no,
Mhm.
sorry, PCC. So it's good to know that that is elsewhere in the Portland area. What advice do you have for students who may want to go that direction but don't have access to that at their current school?
Um, well, I think it was definitely a newer program for me, and I honestly don't remember how I heard of it, and I also got a lot of pushback from even doing the program
Mm.
just because I had to get a signature from every teacher I had, and some teachers were so confused as to why I would ever want to leave high school because it's a big commitment, having to leave high school, and some of them were confused and even told me maybe I should really think about that decision. But I was I so I don't know, to for resources. Well, now that you know that maybe there's a program near you that might exist, just type it in if you have access to the internet, and try to find resources. They're growing. These programs aren't super popular, but they're up and coming because I think more students are finding that the college environment is a uh, better education style for them, learning style for them. I mean, you have to be a lot more responsible, and you have to be a lot more independent. So, which I thrived on, I guess. So,
And,
yeah.
well, it seems like that's what gave you that jump start to really just go all the way through college and saying, I'm going to even move to Spain. Why not?
Yeah. Well, and the biggest plus is that it was free. So the Beaverton School District paid for it. So I got my first 2 years of college for free, which is the biggest reason I did it. So it's one of the biggest scholarships in the area.
That's fantastic to hear. So look into any local community college, see if there's a connection to the school district that the students are at, and potentially see if there's a way to get in there.
Yes.
Um, with that being said, you still had to go through college, right?
Yeah.
This was still like, oh, it wasn't a walk in the park. You still had to enroll, take 2 years of courses at least. What
Hmm.
was that experience like after having gotten basically an associate's degree in high school? Was it easy, hard?
You mean the transition from PCC to PSU?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, I think PSU is a lot easier than PCC, just because well, I took a lot of the general the prerequisite classes at PCC, so all the science, all the math classes. At PCC, the class sizes are a lot smaller, and the professors seem to be a lot more involved with their students. So there's a lot more. I don't there was a lot more focus in those classes from the professor between the professors and students at the community college, whereas at PSU they have so many students, so you don't I don't know, it's sometimes it's easier to pass those classes than it was at PCC. So
Okay. So
yeah.
that's really interesting because I've heard that from some students, but I'm really curious if the experience that you had at PCC was because of the professors or the community that PCC created for you, or was it maybe a mix of both or something else?
Oh yeah, for sure, both. And the way the early college high school, we had counselors, and they basically forced they we had to take a college preparedness class, and so they taught us how the tips and tricks to get through college. I had to take that class in my first term. So the program itself really helped us. They really wanted us to succeed, and we had to have a meeting with them every term. They forced us to speak with every professor at least once a term, and we had to like have the professor sign the slip, and we had to hand it back. So the program itself really helped us high schoolers succeed in the classroom.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
whereas at PSU, I really had to seek it out myself, the support. So that's the difference.
So as you matriculated, you really had to become more of a self-starter and find the areas that really could support you best.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Do you think that that continues even after college?
For sure, yeah. And yeah, I think one word that they really taught us in early college high school program was interdependence. So that's an idea that I try to use every day in my life. And interdependence means you're not you're not dependent on people, but you're not too independent. You use your community and your resources to help you succeed in life, and you're not afraid to ask for help, and you're not afraid to give help, and so yeah.
That's fantastic.
Done that right.
Absolutely. And I mean, interdependence is something that we may not all achieve at the same time too, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you
Mhm.
found? Because it seems like you might be a little bit younger than some of the people who are your peers at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, I don't know. I think even looking back, I mean, I went through college at such a younger age. There's a lot of mistakes I made, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have participated in more clubs. I wish I would have
Ah,
talked to more professors, and so I mean, yeah, it's something I work on every day.
okay,
And
let's jump into those mistakes if you don't mind. I think
yeah.
that those are fantastic. And you already opened Pandora's box here. So you started off with saying, "Wish I had joined more clubs. I wish I had gone to office hours." What of those two specifically pop to your head first?
Well, PSU requires that you pay $400 to $500 every term, every 3 months, and that money is specifically for clubs. So you're paying hundreds of dollars for these clubs to get funded, and that's also for gym fees and to have all these in centers, and so you're already having to pay the money, so you should be utilizing that. And I really didn't understand that until I got to
Mm,
PSU. And in my senior year at PSU, I did start using the clubs a lot. Um, and so if you're already paying for it, you should really think about using it. Don't let your money go to waste.
that's a
And
great suggestion.
you
Yes,
meet so many people and you get exposed to more opportunities.
that is fantastic. And I mean, I've heard the idea from the students, like there's these club fairs, they happen in the fall and they happen in the spring. You go to them, you pick some free stuff and you may sign your email, but you may never reply to it.
Yeah.
Um, how do you take advantage of that though? Like what's your suggestion in that sense?
How do you
Like,
take advantage of the club fairs?
yeah.
Yeah, I tried to go to as many club fairs as I could. I'm pretty talkative. I like talking to people. So, uh, just talk to the people. They're there. Sometimes these club members just stand there all day and just ask questions. Let them give you their pitch as to why you should join their club. And also, the more members clubs have, the more money they get. So um, I think you just find something you're interested in. There's clubs of all sorts. I also know people who have started their own clubs. So if you don't like any of the clubs, you can start your own club, and it's not that hard. You really just need a professor to help you out and be like the advisor for you. I know people who are really successful in it. So yeah.
That actually is good to know because there is some crossover from high school in that sense. Like you have to have an advisor and all that kind of stuff, which is key to that support. I want to go into your second mistake that you said was didn't go to professor's office hours enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
touch on that.
Professors, they all have office hours, and oftentimes the case is that no students ever come to them. So I mean, so sometimes these professors are just sitting there for a couple hours, and I think they get paid for it. But I mean, if you have any question, it could be anything. The professor, you'll hear this if you go to college. Like the professors beg students to come to their office hours. Um, you could just ask them how their day was. I don't know, it could be anything. You could ask them, hey, can you explain this one math problem to me? Can you explain this theory to me? um, and not only will it help you in your um, actual course that you're taking, but it'll help you build a relationship, which you never know when you're going to need
Mm.
an advisor, a professor's letter of recommendation, anything. So
So
it's
let's
really,
rewind.
what'd you say?
Let's rewind.
Okay.
Younger Nadia goes to her first ever office hours. Do
Okay.
you remember that day?
Um, I think it was at PSU.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. I was pretty nervous to talk to professors, but it was my Spanish. She was the head of the Spanish department at PSU, and so I went to her and just asked her what my what she thought I should do regarding my Spanish degree, if I should get a minor or major. And uh, I remember that being a pretty meaningful conversation. And then she was one of the closest throughout the rest of my time at PSU, closest professor and advisor. So she helped me a lot, even still today. So yeah.
That's really special. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you had that experience. So the bouncer, Adriana, I think that that's just a solid name. She's just awesome with that. Also has some questions, so I want to make sure that she gets some time to ask some of those questions specifically around the college area.
Okay.
Adriana, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautiful. So Nadia, you're talking about going to PSU, and you've kind of talked about, I swear that they froze. I just talked about the different like environment of PSU, and it's a commuter school. Can you talk about the environment of like PSU being in the middle of downtown Portland and how that like played into effect of your college experience?
Yeah, PSU isn't, um, yeah, there's in the classes, you'll see so many different ages and people, international students. So, whereas I've heard from other colleges, sometimes you see the same age, the same, I don't know, you see the same age group of people in, like, say, OSU, U of O. I haven't really taken a class there, but whereas PSU, there's people from all walks of life taking classes. So you really get to hear a different perspective from people in the classrooms. I've had retired doctors sit in classrooms who are auditing courses. I've had a lot of veterans in the classroom. And so I think that because it's a commuter school, you're going to get a lot of different types of people in the classroom with different opinions and perspectives. For me, I didn't live on campus. It gave me more of an opportunity to save money, so I was able to live at home with family, which was a bonus because college is very expensive, so I was trying to cut down costs. And so, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wondered because I took one class at PSU. I don't even know if I ever told you this, in the summer one time, and it was just very bizarre going to downtown Portland to like pop into a class, and then you walk outside and there's like everyone else is living their life walking by you, but at the same time you're on a college campus. And so I wondered if for you, if that you felt like it made your college experience feel less like you see on TV, or if you felt like you experienced a more like robust and like fun college experience because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like PSU is very down to business. I mean, I chose it for a reason. I didn't really care for the college experience, I guess. I mean, I even left the high school experience early too. But yeah, PSU is very integrated into downtown Portland. So yeah, I definitely felt that too. Sometimes you take a wrong turn and you're not on campus anymore. So it's really big campus, and sometimes buildings will be super far away. You have to take a streetcar to get to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time at PSU and PCC.
Nice. And my other question, again, kind of with choices. So can you tell us, like, how did you pick your major? Like, how did you even find it to, like, know that that existed? Just how did the process of finding your major happen for you?
Well, I was pretty sure I was wanting to go into education as a major, but I think I met somebody early on who was doing, so my major is international and global studies. And so I think I just heard or met somebody and they told me about their major. And it was just kind of like, wow, that sounds like the perfect major for me. And I'm super curious about it. And yeah, I loved what I majored in. And so it kind of went from there.
Do you think your major is helping with what you're doing right now in Spain? And can you talk a little bit about your job in Spain?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so my major is international studies, and I had a focus on Latin America. Um, and also with that, I had to have, since I was focusing on Latin America, I had to study Spanish. So of course, being able to speak Spanish has helped me here in Spain, although the Spain Spanish is very difficult. But yeah, I think, and also Spain obviously, colonized the majority of Latin America. So it's interesting being here and knowing kind of the history behind with Latin America. So yeah.
And can you walk us through what you do, like day to day at your job there?
So I work for the Spanish government. And I work for the Ministry of Education. I am an English language teaching assistant. I am on a student visa. I'm not on a work visa, so there's lots of requirements. So I can only work a certain amount of hours here. And so yeah, so day to day, I go to the school. I work at a bilingual public school. I live in downtown Madrid, but I work like an hour outside of Madrid, in this huge suburb called Móstoles, and I basically work with 4-year-olds all the way up to 6th grade. I have a crazy schedule. Every 45 minutes, I'm going to a different classroom. I basically just assist the actual teacher in the classroom. And all these teachers are from Spain originally, but they've learned English. So they're teaching English, and I'm there to assist them if they need help. They also call us cultural ambassadors. So I'm there to also provide my own culture. There's 5,000 of us in Spain, 2,500. So half of us are here in Madrid because Madrid is the biggest city in Spain. It's the capital. It's right in the middle of Spain. And yeah, so I only work 16 hours a week because and they provide me with a stipend every month, a livable salary. And yeah, and I do other jobs. I also teach English online, and I do private tutoring for families here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So it seems like education is still very much a part of you, and that like you obviously want to teach and you have fun doing it. With education, with your process of transferring from the US to Madrid, from a smaller city to a larger city, you're bound to have obstacles. So I'm really curious about what obstacles, what challenges you've encountered in this educational and work pathway and how you've taken them on.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is intercultural challenges. It's such a big culture difference between the United States and Spain. So that's been, just the language barrier itself. I studied Spanish, and it's still so difficult sometimes, especially my first 3 months here. It was not a good time for me, but I survived it. And having to communicate with my coworkers here, who are all Spanish, thankfully, my major actually also prepared me for this. I had to take a few classes on intercultural communication and what to do when you're in scenarios when abroad, and how to survive in a different culture for an extended period of time. So I was able to use some of the tools I learned in those classrooms here. But yeah, I guess the biggest is language and culture barriers here.
I want to highlight that for a second, because in a lot of the programs we've done, the question comes up like, what do you want to do with your future? Where do you want to go? What do you want to see? That kind of stuff. And the students are a lot of the times like, I want to travel. And a lot of the students we work with not only have family members that live outside of Portland, but potentially even outside of the US, or at least mainland US. So with that being said, I want to just highlight what you said. Intercultural communication is a huge help, regardless of it being like, I'm going to walk in and make it happen. You at least have some backing when you get somewhere else. And then the ability to communicate in another language. Those two are the big things that you would say. Is there anything else though?
Well, the schools here and their teaching methods are extremely different than what I've experienced. So that's something I've really had to adjust to. So, because I worked at the International School of Portland, and it was it's complete night and day difference than the school systems here. So just in teaching methodologies. So that's something that's been one of the biggest challenges for sure.
Cool. And how have you overcome that?
What did you, sorry, you cut out.
So how have you overcome that, like the
Oh.
difference in teaching methods?
Well, a big thing that our program, the first meeting we had here with some of the leaders in Madrid's school system, they said, get it out of your head right now that you will be able to really change something here, because your job isn't to change our school systems. We understand that it's different. So that's just something they told me straight up, that I won't be able to change it. So even though I wish I could like, show them or tell them everything I've learned, but they told us that it's just not going to happen. So
It seems like it might require a lot of patience, despite
yeah,
its frustrations.
Yeah, it's patience, and sometimes you just have to like step back and breathe. And if I see something in the classroom I don't agree with, I can do my best I just have to do my best to handle it. So.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, I have like 55 billion more questions for you, but it is also time for the students
Okay.
to ask questions if they have any. So I'll give you all a hot second to write anything down that you've been thinking about. If you already have some answer or some questions, feel free to raise your hand, and Adriana, the bouncer, will choose you to be called on.
Yeah, and while you're thinking of questions, I just have one last question for Nadia. Can you show people or explain what you wear for your job? Like what kind of clothing?
Okay, so again, the school systems here are so vastly different. It's so much more casual. But yeah, I can wear t-shirts, jeans, I can wear shorts. I like to wear like button-up shirts, and nice pants and nice shoes. I like to just dress presentable, but they really don't have any sort of dress code. There's been a couple times I'm surprised by what some teachers wear here, but again, I can't change anything.
All right, thank you. So Danny, I'm going to unmute you and you can ask your question. Maybe. In theory. It won't let me unmute Danny.
Oh, because I was already muted on my own, I guess. I bamboozled you. I was wondering, what's your commute to work like? Because I know there's a lot of different types of transportation there.
Yeah, well, Madrid has such an amazing public transportation system. I'm definitely that's going to be the number one thing I miss when I leave. So I walk down my street and I get into the metro, which is just a really fast train system. I go underground. You have to go down like 3 escalators down below the ground, and then I take that train it's like a 25-minute train ride to the city outside of Madrid that I work in, and then once I get to that city, I take their small little train to my school. So overall, it's like 45 minutes.
Well, thanks. See, Mary, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi, Mary. I can't hear her.
Oh wait, Mary, you just muted yourself.
Mary, make sure that your audio is connected. If not, you can type your question in.
Whoa, we're on the same wavelength. Yes, Mary, type your question.
While this is happening, Nadia, I just have a request before this is finished. If you could tell us a Spanish joke. It's okay if you don't have it now, but if they have one that you know of, this would be a good
I'll try to think of one. In Spanish or just?
Any Spanish, yeah.
Like in Spanish, you're wanting me to speak Spanish? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but specifically,
Okay.
specifically in España.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll think of one.
All right, Mary's question is, how was the transition from Portland to Spain in terms of lifestyle? Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Well, Spain. Has anyone been to Europe here or Spain? Dan, you've been, okay. Well, it's very different. Spain is, the transition was hard. I mean, the visa process to even get to Spain was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's not for the faint of heart. It really gives you perspective on the even trying to get a visa to even leave the country, let alone come into the country. The transition was it was hard. I mean, saying bye to my family. I didn't know at the time when I left when I would come back, because my program, I'm allowed to stay however long I want. But I will be coming back this year. But yeah, it was smooth for the most part, but yeah, the culture differences are hard. I mean, the biggest thing is Spain has such a relaxed lifestyle. I mean, you guys have maybe heard of the Spanish siesta in the middle of the day. A lot of stores and shops close for 2 hours a day. Some people even go home, do their work day for 2 hours. It's just very slow paced here. Yeah, but the transition was overall very smooth for me. My transition from when I got off the plane to my living situation, because I had to find my own living situation, that was the hardest part. But again, I survived it. The apartment hunting was very difficult here, but overall it worked out. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Sweet. That's a thumbs up from Mary. Yeah, navigating the a completely different country, even if you speak the language, can be extremely hard. So way to go for getting all that stuff situated. All right,
Thanks.
Danny's got a question here. It's, does the school you work for have any volunteer requirements or clubs? And what does volunteering look like for students in Spain? Thanks, Danny.
Good question. Well, I work for a primary school, elementary school. I don't think they have volunteer requirements since they're pretty young, but I think they do have after school clubs. I've seen some posters for dance clubs, stuff like that. But for other higher grade levels, I'm not really aware of any volunteering, but we have had, I'm sure there is, because we have had the older high school kids come to the elementary school for volunteer stuff. So I'm sure there is. I'm not super confident. I don't really know much about it though.
That's cool to know that high school students do come back. I know that there are some students at Franklin who've done that. Maybe even some of you on the call here have done that too. Are there any other questions? I have 500 more, so well, if you think of another one, write it in. I've got two big questions for you. In this era of COVID-19, Madrid and Spain overall have been hit extremely hard. How is the education system coping with this, and what is your position altering into at this point?
Um, I don't have a lot of communication. The communication in Spain overall, my experience is that there's often a lack thereof. So I've just been told that to whatever my school asks me to do, I do it, and I'll still get my salary. But so I haven't done much. I made a couple PowerPoints last week. But this week is the Holy Week in Spain, Semana Santa, and so a lot of the teachers are telling me to not. They won't be in touch with me until after next week. So they take things really slow here. I think a lot of teachers are trying to go with the flow. But I have heard like most teachers around the world, are having to work even harder than usual, just because the technology is, I don't know, trying to communicate with elementary students, especially over technology, and some of these students don't have access, and trying to get them to access Google Slides is such a challenge here. So yeah, I think, yeah, they're trying their best, but I think there's only so much they can do here.
Yeah, I think that that's something that we're all finding as a struggle. I know that even the students here have mentioned that there is some confusion just in messaging and
Mhm.
how things are actually going to be unraveling. Um,
Yeah.
well, I want to take a step back in terms of this position and what it's preparing you to do. Obviously, you're in a completely foreign country. You speak a different language, or are being forced to speak a different language, yet you're still teaching English. Um, you're having to come up with some curriculum, but support other teachers. What's this going to prepare you to do? What's in the forefront for you? What's on the horizon?
That's a good question. And yeah, I've been really thinking about this since because of this interview. But since I've been in high school, it's been go, 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 like work super hard. So I think after I return from Spain, I'm going to, my goal for the next couple years is to just try to learn as much as I can. I'm still young. I'm only 21. I just want to learn. I want to go work in different avenues or different areas outside of education, maybe. But I know in my heart I still love working in education, so I might end up there. I might go back to school and get my master's degree. But biggest thing is I do want to travel. So at least in the next 2 years, I'm probably going to find a job that will accommodate me to travel a couple times a year. So yeah, I'm just gonna see where it goes from here, because the last like 4 years have been so planned for me. So I'm just gonna try to step back for a second.
Seems like you've really bitten into the Spain mentality, kind of just like let it happen almost. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so I like asking this question because we don't always have it in front of us. And if you did have it in front of you, I'd hope you'd be applying for a job, because otherwise it'd be kind of weird. What is on your resume and why?
Um, I have honestly, my resume is kind of boring, but I have the most important, what I think are the most important jobs I've had. Of course, when I'm applying for, when in the future when I apply to a job, I'm going to tailor my resume accordingly to that job. So if I have a job experience that's not relevant, I'm going to take it off, because most likely I've heard, people flip through resumes, they're barely skimming these, so I just put what I think would stand out. And yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's also like refreshing to hear that you will change it up per whatever
Oh,
job. It is
yeah.
a whole job applying for a job. So that's nice to
Yes.
know that you're like focused
Right.
on that.
And a good piece of advice is, whenever you do start a new job, open your resume up and just type it in, so then put it away, so you have it constantly updated. So
Mhm. Very, very smart. Definitely take notes on that one, y'all. Um, our name is Passion Impact, so I think it would be remorse if we didn't ask this question. Um, you're passionate about a lot of things. It's obvious. What makes you passionate about your current position, and why did you apply for that position?
yeah. Well, I I learned about this position. This program is pretty unique. I mean, you don't have to necessarily pay to get into this program, but backing it up, in college, my senior project for PSU, my capstone, was bilingual education. So I did a 6-month long project reading about bilingual education, specifically Spanish English, education in the United States, and I worked with a small group of people, and we worked with the Beaverton School District and the Portland School District. We split up, and I volunteered at an elementary school in Beaverton, and I got to work in a classroom, and the teacher, the Spanish teacher there, she told me about this program, and that's how she learned Spanish. And then so I just kept that in the back of my head, this program. And years later, I started, when I was eligible to apply to it, I did. And so that, my senior project in college really made me so passionate about bilingual education. And then now I have the opportunity to actually work in bilingual education here. And I hope maybe one day I'll work as a Spanish teacher in the United States. I'm not sure. I still need to figure out and think what I want to do. But yeah, I just love it. I love seeing kids learn languages, especially they should start learning at as young as possible. So I think it's a cool thing.
You know, it's a real treat that that you have that passion, especially when the U.S. I mean, from what my perspective is, like, we haven't had enough investment in dual immersion programs in the U.S. I grew up, yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, like, if you were, and this will probably be around the last question, unless anybody else has any others. If you were the education czar of the United States, and you have the experience that you currently had, the passion that you currently do hold, what would you do with that power? This was not a question written down, so for anybody watching, this is on the spot answer.
I mean, right now, I think it's all about policy. I think what I learned, which was pretty shocking, is that even in California, schools were not allowed to work a lot even with Spanish, and there's a huge Spanish-speaking population in California. And in 2016, I think it just was overturned that Spanish was allowed to be implemented. So I think, I don't know, the first step would be look at all these states and see what laws are in place, because there's a lot of people who are against Spanish, especially against learning Spanish or another language, because I don't know, there's a lot of people who have the mentality that English should be the only language learned in the United States. So yeah, I would try to, I don't know, that's a huge, it would be hard.
Yeah, that's a huge undertaking, and for even though we are a country that speaks English as a major language, we actually don't have a what's the term for it?
Official language.
Thank you, an official language. But in ideas of learning other languages, Danny just asked, do you have any advice for those of us who are trying to learn another language, or any tips?
Yeah.
Good question, Danny.
Yeah. I don't, just try to immerse yourself. I mean, the reason why I only did a minor in Spanish at PSU is because I personally felt like I would rather than spending money in classes, I wanted to use that money to travel and go abroad. And I think going abroad is going to be your best bet. Living somewhere abroad, watching shows. I've watched so many Spanish shows with the subtitles in Spanish. Don't do English. Podcasts. There's so many resources out there with the internet. So yeah, you gotta force yourself and make it a daily habit.
And yes, of course, Adriana the bouncer says.
Adriana, you brought it back up.
Do you have a joke? It's okay if you don't.
Hold on. Well, I don't know if I have a joke, to be honest.
That's totally okay. I also want to make sure that everybody realizes it. It's almost 2 a.m. Your time is correct.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little tired.
Yeah. So the joke's on all of us. She is like still awake. That's really what's happening. We have 1 minute. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the students who are watching, or future students who, happen to click on this YouTube video?
Yeah. Well, I was really thinking, I think you should really you can plan so much in your life, and I think it's really good too. plan, and I'm an over planner and I plan every step, and I have been doing that, but you never know. It sounds so cliche, but you never know what'll happen, especially, you know, this coronavirus, you know, pandemic. It can change your whole life. So it's always good to think about other options, research other avenues. I love going onto job websites and just seeing, you know, what's out there. Completely different from what I've been doing. So just research, think about other things outside of what your interests are, because you never know who you'll meet. And yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that, Nadia. It is 4:55, so I'm going to share my screen once more. We're going to wrap up with a quick little reflection in true passion impact form. So go ahead and write your comments in the chat bar as to the answers to these questions. You can answer 1, 2, or all 3. What did you learn from this interview that you're excited about? How can you use this interview or this information moving forward? And how can we as Passion Impact improve your experience? Now, I figured out how to do this last time. Sweet, here we go. Nadia, this is a perfect time if you want to find a joke. So this is your chance.
Wait, I was, did you want the joke to be about Spain or in Spanish?
Either works actually at this point. Whatever you can come up with. Even if it's a traba-lingua, that's even better if you can get that one down too.
Let me see.
All right, Danny says, I learned some tips to studying Spanish, and I will be using the coronavirus time to use those tips to study. Awesome. And Danny, if you want to practice your Espanol, you can talk at me. I'm not sure if I'll understand, but we can practice together.
There's
Awesome.
some good Netflix shows out right now if you have Netflix in
Sometimes
Spanish.
they dub them over with the English, and you're like, that's not what they're saying.
You have to turn that feature on.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Tamara, I learned about the importance of intercultural communication. Amen to that as well. That seems like such an underlying and under-resourced class that potentially could really transform the ways in which we understand other cultures and other people. So,
Right.
absolutely.
No, you won't just use it when you're abroad. You'll use it in the United States too, in the workplace.
Heck yeah. Echo on that one. Anybody else? We got Kayla, Mary, Adriana the bouncer. All right. Watch televol. What's that one? Televoi. Is
Telenovelas, I think they're trying.
that right? Telenovelas? Okay, cool. Is that something you already watched, Kayla? No? Okay, so she's going to watch that now. Danny, number 2, I want to go to Spain for study abroad in college, so the information in this interview is helping me prepare. Awesome.
And
Yes.
I can send you the link to my program. It's a really good program, and you just have to have a 4-year degree, or you can be a junior in college.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes.
So, and it's free for the most part. So.
And you get a stipend and a place to live, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. Very cool. Mary, is there anything that you'd like to add? Okay, cool. Adriana says, try to find places to immerse yourself in other cultures and languages. So that doesn't have to just be, and also join clubs in college. Yes. So maybe even it's joining a club in college that's immersing yourself in a completely different culture or language. I'm going to just combine those, Adriana the bouncer. Mary, number 1, it's taught me that moving abroad is a great option. And Mary, you've already moved abroad once, have you not? Yeah, you have. All right. So keep doing it, right? Oh, that's so good. I'm going to throw one in here. And the word that came to mind in the very beginning that you said that stuck out was interdependence. Interdependence, especially when moving abroad, that if you try and rely solely on yourself, you might fall flat on your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. For sure.
Awesome. Is there anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Is it? Oh, number 2, Mary says, this motivates me to someday move back to Nepal for a period of time. Very cool, Mary. All right. Adriana the bouncer wants to take a quick picture. So are you going to take that, Adriana? Can I screenshot it? Okay, hold on. Yes, I will do my best here.
Control Shift 4.
Da-da-da-da. Okay, everybody, hold your smile. Go. Awesome. And then Tamara has a name. That's great. Okay. So just real quick, upcoming events. I'm going to go through it from the top down. Parent support, like today from 1 to 2:30. Again, working on supporting materials for parents in different languages, very much in line with our conversation today. Number 2 is weekly discussions, weekly article discussions. One is going to be tomorrow. So look out for that article to read up on. Number 3 over here is workout sessions on Wednesday with Kayla and Christina. Again, I'm still in pain. I don't know why. I did something wrong probably, meaning I haven't stretched enough. So I'm going to stretch more. I'm excited for that this upcoming Wednesday. On Wednesday evening, we're going to be interviewing Catherine Wynn. She has a psychology and nutrition science background in college, and now runs her own farm. So if you like entrepreneurship, if you like agriculture, psychology, she is going to be a wealth of information for that. On Thursday, we're going to be having the Connectors communication team meeting in the afternoon from 3 to 4:30, helping out with newsletters, social media posts, interviews, blogs, vlogs, and more. And then on Friday, we got games with Mary Allen. It's going to be a great time just to hang out, eat some food, play some games, just be with some people your own age. And as always, subscribe to our newsletter, passionimpact.org/subscribe. If you want to sign up for any of this stuff here, it's at passionimpact.org/teleprogramming. And what's the joke? Do you have a joke? That's okay.
I typed it in the
Did you type it?
I typed it in, but I don't. You might not. It's easier to see it because it's a play on words.
Okay. All right.
In
We're gonna
Spanish.
get this joke. All right. The
Maybe
joke
you can read
says,
it.
¿Cuáles son las vacas más perezosas? Vacas.
Perezosos.
I don't know what
Lazy.
these words mean. So which
So-
are the? Can you translate, please?
Yes. So, what are the laziest cows? And it's vacaciones, because vaca is cow in Spanish. So vacación, you're lazy on vacation. it's a dumb play on words.
I love it. And Kayla, you're right. It's a knee slapper. With that, we're going to say thank you, Nadia. We really appreciate your
you.
time.
Thank
Please
you.
stay safe over there.
Thank you, I will.
Yeah, if Adriana the bouncer can unmute all of us, they can give you a hoot and holler and yippee, because you deserve it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for
Thank
listening.
you.
Appreciate it, Nadia.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Have a good time sleeping.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you.
All right. See y'all later. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
That's awkward.